guys. Welcome to Digilogue Days. This is the Artist Discovery Podcast. I'm Anastasia, and this is...
This is DZH. I'm a rapper from East Orange, New Jersey, and producer, and it feels good to be here at the Digilogue Days.
Well, happy to have you here. We actually want to discuss that you recently just dropped a single, Fear on a Tuesday. How has that been for you since the release?
Since the release, it's been really good because Fear on a Tuesday was one of those records where I wasn't being fully vulnerable with my audience, and I wasn't being vulnerable with myself and my art. And I was like, let me just kind of, just share what's going on. So I talk about my mom, I talk about my little sister, I talk about my niece, I talk about my sister, I talk about Palestine, and just a bunch of other things all in that little 2-minute time span. I'm just that felt relieving. It felt like therapy. It felt like I needed to get everything out.
It's let's just get everything off my chest.
Yeah. It was I've been hoarding so much in, from the music, and I'm just if I could just have 2 minutes of this, just the proper music, I'm good. So I was fine.
Okay, so thinking about that concept when talking about your past records, how do you feel you kind of release through your music then? Because you had a whole bunch of records where you're really saying a lot, all the bars, really tough, but there's always something an undertone to it with your emotions. So how do you kind of balance that? What do you how do you choose to share and then take away?
It really depends, and this sounds crazy, but it really depends just on the beat itself, because if the beat is something ridiculously insane, it's got crazy percussion, it sounds like Drake should be doing one of those 6 p.m. and whatever type of records, I'm going to give people that. But if it's one of those records where it's hype, I don't really have to do too much, I'm going to give exactly people that. So it really just depends on the mood that I'm in.
Give the people what they want.
I'm working on it. And it quite literally depends on the mood I'm in. And then on top of that, because I do have homies, I do have features. And it also depends on all right, cool, I think you'd be good here, I think you'd be good on background vocals.
Okay.
But for the most part, it just depends on how I'm feeling at that moment. Because sometimes I want to be goofy, I want to punch in a bunch of bogus, I don't feel like writing anything down. And other times I'm all right, this right here sounds like I need to share a testimony, or I need to just, kind of relieve stress in a way, more or less.
So when we talk about how you release music, I always find that your rollouts are super interesting. DZH is really involved on his social media with his fans, especially in terms of putting out his music, keeping everybody tapped in, and also creating short visuals when he is releasing or preparing to release. So how do you kind of go through that? I know you typically do a little teaser, and then you have the long-winded videos.
Yeah. So this all started back when I was releasing Dante's Inferno in 2022.
Right.
And I was all right, cool. Let me figure out how to properly roll something out, because previous to before then, I was just hey, new song dropping here, and then I would just drop the date and just drop the video.
Yeah.
So I was all right, let me figure out what works. And lo and behold, very random, I was scrolling through a Drake interview, and he was talking about how the 72-hour rule exists. 24 hours, people will remember it. 48 hours will go by, people will remember it, but they won't care. 72 hours, people won't remember it as much, but people will fully stop caring. So I applied that to my rollout, and I was all right, how can I do that? So I did Tuesdays, Fridays, Fridays.
Yeah, you're very consistent.
I'm very consistent with it, and I was just all right, let me see if it works. And eventually just started working with singles, and I was all right, let's do this for the album. It worked for the album really well, and I was just well, let's keep going with that, and that's been really successful for me.
Yeah, and you kind of do this almost every week.
Oh, for sure, I have to.
So how do you maintain that for yourself? How are you oh my gosh, okay, I need to have something to give the people at some point.
Yeah. So one of my best friends, his name is Andrew Pritchett. He's a producer out of Atlanta, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. And he had let me know one day, and I'll never forget it. He's yeah, you have to work backwards. So I was all right, cool.
Okay.
I'll schedule a release date. And I'm all right, so when do we want the video to come out? Do we want it to come out a week before or a week after? And because, all distributors are all different, I had to be all right, I want it on that day. They're all right, we'll submit 3 weeks before. Cool. So then I have to talk to my videographer. All right, we need to shoot on this day so I could upload it on this day. And I'd be all right, cool. Hey, I need artwork on this day. So it was all just about picking a date, working backwards and making sure everything fluctuates the way that it's supposed to. And once I got that and I figured everything out, I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, I could do this for as many times as I need to. And it just became poetry. Like, it became easy to do.
You know what? I really do like that idea of working backwards. I
Yeah.
feel like it definitely makes it easier, more definite timeline.
For sure.
So, other artists listening to this, I definitely think that you should really think about that timeline of starting backwards and making sure that you have everything ready by the release dates or when you need to send stuff in. I think that's super helpful.
It is.
The other thing, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your visuals. Like, you do it's super simple, but like the color grading or even doing black and white really changes
Did it myself.
the mood.
Color grading, I do
Yeah.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades. Here we go.
Got
Okay.
you, master of none.
But like when you do them, even though it's such a simple video, like it has a lot of emotion when you add the song and even just like the little ways that you kind of nuance through it. Like, how do you decide with your videographer, like, hey, this is the goal, this is what we're doing?
We usually, before we shoot anything beforehand, we usually all have like a talk or a PowerPoint, like, all right, cool, like this is how we want this to go. We want to replicate this scene from this video that we shot, or we want to maybe try something new. We might go for a drive. There's been times where me and my videographer, his name is Apollo.
Okay,
There's been
shout out
times
Apollo.
For sure, that's my brother. There have been times where me and Apollo will just go for a drive for like a good 20, 30 minutes, just picking out locations like, okay, we should shoot there. Maybe we could try there. Maybe not there yet for a future video and so on and so forth. And it's always great because he and I are kind of thinking alike, and he'll understand like, all right, yeah, like this is a good shot. Or probably don't want to use that. Like, he's the type of person, perfect example, he doesn't like shooting in the same spot twice.
Okay.
So if he felt like we can do it and we've tried, and sometimes it'll come out good. And then other times they're like, we'll just save it for a different day. So I think it all just comes out with planning. If you don't know how to plan, then you don't. There's no point in doing it.
So in terms of going into planning, what do you have coming up for us next? Like, what can we look forward to?
So I do have a couple of other singles, and then the album. I've been delaying this album for a little while now, off the simple strength of I wanted it to sound a certain way. I didn't want to rush. I wanted to be comfortable, and I wanted to like kind of more or less open up more because I'm an introvert. So opening up is like, I'm still kind of getting used to it. And I'm still kind of getting used to it. I'm also like, I can tend to be a goofball, and the only time I like really like quote unquote open up is when I cook. And like I'm actually in the kitchen, I'm actually cooking like different recipes and all the rest of that.
Okay, that's cool though.
So yeah, I was just kind of like, you know what? Let me like kind of more or less like open up in a way where like I'm comfortable, and I did it to music, and the album sounds like, okay, this is who he is. He's trying to be himself, and he is himself, and I think that'll be perfect.
I think that's really great for like standing in your craft, like having like a body of work that's like, yeah, this is me. When can we expect that album to come out?
Sometime in 2025.
Okay, so
I know,
2025.
I know
that's when we're
that.
expecting a new album.
And then in the interim, I've also accidentally started like a rollout series by accident. Like,
you faked it.
I did, but I did it on purpose. And I was like, all right, cool. So the first single, just to like clear everything up, was like, oh, okay, like Joy on a Friday. And then I was like, all right, that's cool, I guess. And then Fear on a Tuesday, I'll say this, I'll have the rest of the days planned out, and then it'll come all together one day. Sometime, I just don't know when, but I'm just kind of having fun just letting out singles go from that.
Okay, so right now we're just vibing, but new album 2025 at some point.
Exactly.
We mentioned food earlier. You like to cook, and then I got pressed about cereal before this. So since you said to ask, what are your top 3 cereals, and then I'll share mine.
So I have this done to a science, and there's a method to the madness.
Okay.
You have to have the cereal that's ridiculously sugary. You have to have the cereal that reminds you of what it feels like to be a kid again. And then you have to have the cereal that is moderately healthy. So the cereal that's moderately healthy, Honey Nut Cheerios. Can't go wrong with Honey Nut Cheerios. Fine.
Okay.
The sugar that is super sugary, after like the third bowl you should probably stop eating, is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. After that, can't eat that. And the sugar,
my gosh.
And then the cereal that is like, it makes you feel like a kid again, Reese's Puffs. Anytime that commercial comes on, you instantly feel like a kid again, and you're like 5, 6, 7 years old. That's a solid 3. There's nothing that beats that 3.
Okay. I think that's a great 3.
See?
For you, yes.
For you.
Yeah. No, like, I'm scared to say mine because I know I'm about to, like, you're about to be like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're good. Don't worry about it.
Based on that algorithm,
Okay.
what was the first one? Like the super sweet?
Yeah, super sweet one.
Super sweet, I think.
Like after like the second bowl, you know you should stop.
I would say for me, that's Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay.
My second one, what makes you feel like a kid?
Yeah.
Honeycombs, right? Because like, my mom's super into that.
You're good.
And then the third one that I just like, but it's not even healthy, I'm not going to lie.
That's cool.
There's Frosted Flakes, but there's a Cinnamon French Toast Frosted Flakes, and I think that one is super good.
Got it.
Okay.
That's not bad.
But those are our cereals, you know.
That's
what we have for breakfast. Okay, if you guys want to say what you guys like, go let us know. I'm going to try it.
That's an interesting 3. It's not as strong as mine, but I completely understand it. Honorable mention, Captain Crunch. And
No.
Yeah, you got to be Captain Crunch. They had their 50th anniversary last year.
How do you know? You know what? Anyways,
you have to know.
We're here on the Artist Discovery Podcast. You know, I hope that you guys really enjoyed this one. We have DZH. Can you close out and let us know where your socials are so we can talk more about cereal?
Of course. So my socials are Dante Zeron Henry on all socials. That's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the rest of that. And then all my DSPs is DZH. So D as in Dante, Z as in Zebra, and then H as in Henry.
Okay.
And yeah, stay tuned for the new music because it is definitely coming. A flood is on the way.
Yeah, guys, be sure to check him out, and then stay tuned with the Digilogue, the Artist Discovery team, and thank you for watching.
Yeet.